The stars above the planet Zarnok were quiet. For hundreds of years, they had been peaceful. Ships came and went. Trade flowed. The alien race called the Zalari had ruled this corner of the galaxy for over 5,000 years. Their cities were tall, their ships were fast. Their armies were strong. They believed nothing could threaten them. They believed they were the rulers of the stars, but in the dark, in places forgotten by time. Something was watching. In the Zalari capital, a young soldier named Kolar Vesh stood on the high watchtower. He was bored. It was the night shift again. The sky looked the same as always, calm and empty. His commander Zirak had told him, "Don't sleep, boy. We may be the kings of the stars, but danger always comes when we least expect it." Kolar didn't believe him. Danger? Out here? What could threaten the Zalari Empire? Kolar yawned and looked at the scanner. The screen blinked. A strange signal. Faint. Unknown. At first, he thought it was a glitch. Then the scanner shook. One blip, then two, then 50. Then 100. Unknown. Ships appeared right above Zarnok. All over the planet, alarms began to ring. Military bases lit up. Drones flew into the sky. Space stations locked their weapons. The fleet commander, High Lord Kirax, stared at the enemy ships forming above the planet. They weren't alien. They weren't Zalari. They weren't anything from this galaxy. They were human. Thousands of years ago, the galaxy had whispered stories about a race called humans, warriors from a far-off star system. Strange beings with soft skin, 2 arms, 2 legs, and a fire in their hearts. Some called them ghosts. Others called them demons, but most called them legends. For so long it was believed they had vanished, killed in ancient wars, wiped out by time, nothing more than fairy tales told to alien children before bed. But now, the sky burned red with their ships. The Zalari Command Council gathered inside the War Dome. Panic filled the room. "Impossible!" shouted Minister Ralvek. "Humans are extinct." "No," said Zirak. He stood calmly, his eyes on the display. "They were never extinct. We buried the truth." The room fell silent. High Lord Kirax asked, "What do you mean?" Zirak's voice was steady. 5,000 years ago, the Zalari betrayed them. We made peace with them. And then we turned on them. We bombed their worlds. We used their trust against them. And when the last of their ships vanished, we believed they died in silence. He looked at the others. We were wrong. Outside the planet, the ships did not move. They floated like shadows, no sound, no message. Just waiting. Then suddenly, a bright light flashed from the largest ship. A message began to play, not in alien language, but in perfect Xelar. It said, "You forgot us. You told stories of our death, but we didn't die. We grew. In the dark we learned. In the silence we became something more. Now we return. Not to conquer, but to remind. The age of legends is not over. The age of humanity has begun." Kolar Vesh stood frozen. His hands shook. The scanner was now showing over 1,200 ships. All human. He whispered to himself. They came back. The senior commander on the tower shouted orders. "Scramble defense squadrons, ready our fleet." But deep inside, they knew. Their weapons were old. Their strategies were known. They had prepared for every threat. Except this one. In a dark chamber on one of the human warships, Commander Elias Grayson watched the alien panic on his screen. His face was calm. He had waited his whole life for this mission. Born in the cold of a hidden Earth colony, trained in silence, prepared for this very moment. Beside him, an AI called Argus spoke. "Aliens show high confusion levels, no direct response." "They are frightened," Elias nodded. "As they should be. Should we fire?" The eye asked. "Not yet," he replied. "Let them remember. Let fear do the work." In the War Dome, Minister Ralvek screamed, "We must attack now. We must destroy them before they strike." But Zirak held up his hand. "No, if we fire, we lose everything. These ships are stronger than anything we've seen." "Then what do we do?" someone asked. Zirak looked out the window. "We try to understand and survive." On a distant moon, an old alien historian named Vader received the signal. He had studied humans his entire life. He was called a fool, a dreamer, a madman. But now, he was the only one who truly knew what was coming. He played the message again and again. "You forgot us." "We didn't forget you." Vader smiled sadly. "They're not just back, they're evolved. And they haven't come to talk." Back. On Zarnak the sky lit up again. But this time, it wasn't just ships. Small human drones, dark, silent machines began falling into cities. They didn't shoot. They didn't destroy. They scanned. They mapped every street, every weapon, every face. The Zalari tried to shoot them. They missed. The drones moved like shadows, faster than bullets. In less than 1 hour, the humans knew everything. Commander Elias sat with his officers. A young lieutenant looked nervous. "Sir," she asked, "why don't we attack now? We can crush them." Elias looked her in the eyes. "Because we're not here to conquer. We're here to show them what they created. They turned us into monsters. Let them meet their own nightmare." He gave one final order for the day. "Begin the countdown, 24 hours. Then we speak." The Zalari Empire had ruled the stars for 5,000 years. They believed they were gods. But now humanity had returned, and they were no gods. They were shadows. They were fire. They were the end of arrogance, and this was just the beginning. The Zalari High Council sat in silence. The sky above Zarnak still burned red with human warships, unmoving yet terrifying. The people on the streets of the capital city watched the sky with fear in their eyes. Some prayed, some cried, and some still refused to believe. Minister Ralvek paced the floor of the War Dome like a cornered beast. "This is madness," he shouted. "Humans are extinct. This must be an illusion, or some other species copying them." But Zirak, the eldest commander of the Zalari fleet, shook his head. "No," he said quietly. "They are real, and we are responsible." The others stared at him. "What do you mean?" asked High Lord Kirax. Zirak took a deep breath. "It's time you all heard the truth, the real history. The story no one teaches anymore. Long ago, 5,000 years ago, the galaxy looked very different. There were many empires, many species. But one stood out from them all: humans. They were new to the stars but moved fast, too fast. While other races took centuries to master warp travel, humans did it in decades. They spread quickly, building colonies, trading with alien worlds, and fighting only when they had to. But when they did fight, they were ruthless, clever, fearless. They didn't rely on size or strength. They used speed, strategy, and something no other race truly understood: emotion. The Zalari were stronger, taller, older. But even they began to fear the growing power of Earth's children. Viator, the alien historian, sat alone in his quiet moon chamber. Old and tired, he watched ancient holograms play across his screen. He was the last true scholar of human history in the Zalari Empire. They had erased so much of it, burned old scrolls, banned human research, made it illegal to speak of them in schools. But Vader had saved pieces, hidden fragments. And now, with the return of the human fleet, those fragments became truth. He pressed a button. A blue light filled the room. A small recording played. A human voice from 5,000 years ago. "We came in peace. We offered friendship. You offered betrayal." It was from the final message of Admiral Jacob Rain, the last human fleet leader before his disappearance. Back in the War Dome, Zirak continued his story. "At first, we traded. With humans. Learned from them. Built with them, even trusted them. But we feared them too. Why? Asked a young general. Because they were like fire, Zirak said. Bright, beautiful, but dangerous if left unchecked. He turned toward the council. So we made a plan. The betrayal the Zelari invited human leaders to a grand peace meeting. They promised unity and shared power, but it was a lie. On the day of the peace treaty, while humans stood unarmed in orbit, the Zelari attacked. Surprise fleet of 2,000 ships ambushed the humans. Earth's colonies were bombed. Cities turned to dust. Communication lines were cut. Their AI networks were hacked. The Zelari called it Operation Final Dawn. It worked. Or so they thought. Most of the human fleet was destroyed. Their leaders vanished. Earth itself was never found. Again, the Zelari claimed victory. And they erased all records of the betrayal. They told the galaxy, the humans vanished. The legends are over. But they were wrong. In the deep silence of space, the survivors fled. Hidden colonies activated. Underground bunkers opened. Human scientists began to work in shadows. They didn't want revenge. Not yet. First, they wanted evolution. Tor sat back in his chair. His hands trembled. He played a hidden file he had recovered years ago. Something the Zelari had hidden deep in their archives. It was a short message from a human scientist, recorded after the betrayal. They feared us. Now they'll face the version of us born in fear. Not out of hate, but memory. Vater whispered, "You remembered. All this time." Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship Vigilance, Commander Elias Grayson stood at the center of the command bridge. His officers watched him closely. He was a man of few words, but his presence was powerful. His eye, Argus, spoke beside him. Zelari government. Shows signs of fear and confusion. No united response yet. Surveillance drones have completed planetary scans. Elias nodded. Upload the data to the Ark Council. Let them see what we're dealing with. The Ark Council, the true leaders of the human remnant, had waited centuries for this moment. Not for war, but for justice. Elias looked out at the planet. Do they even remember what they did to us? Argus answered, no, they erased history. They chose to forget. Elias's eyes narrowed. Then we'll help them remember. Back. On Zarnak, the people were terrified. The news channels ran only one story. The legends have returned. In schools, teachers didn't know what to say. In homes, parents told their children stories they had once laughed at. The humans, they were real. Yes, came the answer. And they're angry. In a hidden science facility beneath the Zarnak capital, researchers worked quickly. The Zelari were desperate to understand the enemy. They examined captured human drones, but couldn't hack them. They tried to jam signals, but the drones changed frequencies. They attempted to scan the human ships, but were met with blank readings. Every weapon, every sensor, every system failed. It was as if the humans had evolved past technology itself. The council called Zirak again. Can we survive this? They asked. He answered honestly. No, not if we treat this like any other enemy. They are not just warriors. They are history itself, returned with fury. Minister Ralvek growled. Then what do you suggest? We bow? No, Zirak said. We understand. Before they strike, we must know their purpose. But they haven't spoken again. Zirak's eyes turned cold. That's what makes them even more dangerous. Vater packed his old bag and locked the doors to his chamber. He had made his decision. He would go to Zarnak. He would speak to the council. And he would show them the real history before it was too late. He took his oldest scrolls, his cracked data pads, the ancient voice recordings, and a warning. You betrayed a flame. Now it returns as fire. As night fell over Zarnak again, the sky remained unchanged. The ships above didn't move, but the silence felt heavier. Inside the Vigilance, Elias Grayson sat before an old image, a picture of Earth. Blue, green, beautiful. Now lost. A soft voice came from a private recording that it was his great-grandmother, one of the survivors of the Great Betrayal. One day we'll go back, not in hate, not in anger, but with truth. So they remember who we were and who they turned us into. Elias stood. Argus, prepare the message. We speak at dawn. Above the skies of Zarnak, the human fleet still hung in silence. Massive warships floated like shadows over the alien capital. The people of Zarnak waited. The Zalari Council waited. Everyone waited. The humans had said nothing for a full day, and silence was more frightening than war. In the War Dome, High Lord Kirax paced in front of a large screen. The faces of council members were tense. They hadn't slept. Their planet was surrounded. Their defenses were weak. Their weapons were outdated. And the legends they once mocked were now real. This waiting will kill us before they do, whispered Minister Ralvik. Commander Zirak stood calm. That's the point. They want us afraid. They want us to remember. Remember what? Ralvik snapped. That we once betrayed them? Zirak nodded. Yes, and they want us to feel that betrayal every second. On the surface of Zarnak, the people were restless. Shops were closed, ships grounded. The military patrolled the streets. But no one felt safe. Children pointed at the sky, at the massive black ships floating silently like mountains in the clouds. One old alien woman whispered, "The ghosts are watching us." But the silence was ending. Inside the massive human flagship Vigilance, Commander Elias Grayson stood at the command deck. Around him, holographic screens showed every city, every military base, every power plant on Zarnak. His eye, Argus reported, all scans complete. Zarnak's defense system is weaker than predicted. Threat level, low. Elias said nothing. Orders? Argus asked. Elias looked out the window, at the planet below. His voice was cold and quiet. Send the message. Across the planet, every screen, every device, every signal stopped. A single video took over. A human face appeared, Elias Grayson, in full uniform. His eyes calm, but sharp. His voice steady. This is Commander Elias Grayson of the United Human Fleet. 5,000 years ago, you called us friends. Then you betrayed us, you bombed our colonies, killed our leaders, lied to the galaxy. You thought we were gone. But we remembered. And now we return. This is not a war. This is judgment. Then the screen went black. In the War Dome, the council was frozen. Minister Ralvik stood. That's it? No demands? No diplomacy? Just threats? No, said Zirak. Not threats, promises. Then the floor began to shake. From orbit, 5 small human ships launched silently. They weren't warships. They looked like black needles. Fast, thin, sharp. They flew straight toward the capital city. The Zalari launched their air fleet to intercept. Hundreds of fighter crafts rose into the sky. The best pilots, the fastest machines. They never stood a chance. In 30 seconds, all 300 alien fighters were gone. No explosions. No fire. The human drones moved like shadows, cutting through the sky without sound. Zalari radar couldn't track them. Weapons couldn't lock on them. Soldiers on the ground only saw brief flashes of light. And then their screens went dead. The human ships didn't fire missiles. They used something worse. Pulse disruptors, a weapon that shut down all energy systems. Ships fell from the sky. Defense towers went dark. Whole cities lost power. Then came the drones. Hundreds of black orbs dropped from the human fleet. They entered the cities floating just above the ground. Each one scanned buildings, people, and military zones. Any alien soldier who pointed a weapon at them disappeared, vaporized in a blink of blue light. The rest were left untouched. This wasn't a full invasion. This was a warning, High Lord. Kirak shouted. Fire everything we have. Bring down those ships. We can't, the defense officer replied. They're inside our systems. They've locked us out of our own weapons. Ralvik screamed in panic. Then we're already dead. Zirak stood silent. He wasn't surprised. On a tall hill near the capital, an alien boy named Relk watched. The sky. His father had told him stories of humans, old, wild stories about warriors from Earth, who could never be beaten. Now he saw those stories were real. He watched a human drone fly past. It didn't attack him. It didn't even slow down. Just scanned him and moved on. Relk whispered. They're not here to destroy. He didn't know he was right, and also very wrong. Viator arrived in the capital that night. He walked through silent streets. Shops were closed, buildings empty. The city had become a ghost town. He carried with him old scrolls and hidden data files, records of the Zalari betrayal. He was stopped by two soldiers. Where are you going, old one? Vader held up a data crystal. To tell the truth. They let him pass. In the Vigilance War Room, Elias sat with his top officers. First stage complete, his lieutenant said. They know we're serious. Argus added, their defense system is in chaos. They are too divided to respond properly. Another officer asked, when do we move to the next city? Elias stared at the map of Zarnuk. No, we wait. Let. The fear spread. He knew this battle would not be won with weapons. It would be won with memory. That night, the Zalari Council received a second message, but it wasn't a broadcast. It was personal. A single black drone entered the war dome. It floated silently, watching them. Then it spoke. This is your only warning. We do not want slaves. We do not want land. We want you to remember. You made us monsters. Now face what you created. Then the drone disappeared in a flash of blue light. Panic spread. People began fleeing cities. Some tried to escape off-world, but the human ships blocked every path. Others begged their leaders for answers. The council had none. Zirak, alone, stood and said, there is one who might help us. A historian named Vader. He knows their past. Bring him to us. Vader was brought before the council. He stood, tall despite his age. His eyes burned with knowledge. You wish to stop them? He asked. Ralvik shouted, yes. Before they destroy us, Vader replied. Then you must accept the truth. He placed the data crystal on the table. A hologram appeared showing images of the human betrayal, peace meetings, explosions, burning colonies. Some of the council members turned pale. We did this, Vader said. We killed their trust. And now, they return, not with hatred but with justice. Meanwhile, Elias watched everything from orbit. Argus reported, alien leadership now knows the full truth. Vader has shown them the ancient records. Elias nodded. Then they understand what's coming. Shall we prepare the main strike? Asked his officer. Elias looked at the planet. Not yet. Let them make the next move. That move came quickly. High Lord Kirax called for a global broadcast. Every Zalari citizen saw his face. He said, today, we stand on the edge of history. We face a force we betrayed long ago. We cannot fight them with weapons, but maybe, just maybe, we can stop this with truth. It was the first time a Zalari leader had spoken openly about the betrayal, but was it too late? Elias Grayson watched the speech. He turned to his officers. They speak of peace, but we came for justice, not words. The room fell silent. He gave the final order. Target Sector 14. Fire one shot, just one. Let them feel it. A single human weapon activated in orbit. It was not loud. It was not fast. It was precise. A beam of blue-white light shot down from the Vigilance. It struck an empty field just outside the capital, burning a perfect X into the earth. Miles wide. No one died. But the message was clear. Elias spoke once more to the planet. This is your mark, one for each lie. When the last X is drawn, your cities will burn. The blue-white X burned into the ground outside the Zalari capital did more than mark a field. It marked the start of something the galaxy hadn't seen in thousands of years, a war with humanity. The people of Zarnak stood silently, staring at the burning symbol. No city had been destroyed, no lives lost, but everyone knew what it meant. Next time, the strike would not be a warning. Inside the War Dome, High Lord Kirak stared at the giant screen. The image of the burning X flickered behind him. We must respond, said Minister Ralvek, his voice shaking. They will not stop until we bow to them. They asked for no surrender, Kirak said coldly. They only want us to remember. And if we don't? Ralvek growled. Zirak answered quietly. Then they will erase us. For the first time in centuries, the Zalari military met in full war assembly. Old admirals were called back from retirement. Ancient weapons were pulled from vaults. Warships that hadn't flown in 400 years were lifted into the sky again. They knew they could not win. But pride, more than logic, pushed them forward. They would not die in silence. Far from the capital, on a hidden military moon called Kalthora, a secret group of Zalari commanders gathered. These were not diplomats. These were not historians. These were fighters. General Turk Viarn, a scarred, war-born soldier, slammed his fist on the table. I've heard enough of talks in history. We are warriors, not ghosts. We fight back. But how? Asked a younger officer. Their ships are stronger. Their tech is unknown. Our systems can't even touch them, Turk smiled. Then we strike where they least expect. We hit first. On board the human flagship Vigilance, Commander Elias Grayson was reading reports from every region of Zarnak. Most military installations are frozen, Argus reported. But there is movement near Kalthora. Unknown ship signatures, no communication, no beacon. Elias narrowed his eyes. Let them move. They'll reveal themselves. Do we prepare counterattack? The eye asked, not yet. Let them fire. First, that same night, 6 Zalari warships left Kalthora silently. They did not move in groups. They did not fly through known lanes. They flew low and fast, using outdated stealth drives. Their plan, to attack the human drone core ship, a small but critical piece of human strategy. They knew it was risky. They knew it could mean death, but they had to try. In orbit above Zarnak, the drone core ship floated silently, smaller than the warships, but pulsing with energy. This was the heart of the human scanning system. If the Zalari destroyed it, they could blind the enemy. Even. For just a short time, the 6 Zalari ships approached fast. They turned off lights, disguised their heat signatures, and then they fired. The first missile hit. A bright red explosion tore through the lower half of the drone core ship. Inside the Vigilance, alarm screamed. Commander! A lieutenant shouted. They hit our drone core. Minor damage, but it's under direct attack. Elias stood slowly. His face did not change, but his voice was sharp. They made their choice. On Kalthora, General Turk watched the explosion on the screen. His officers cheered. One of the 6 ships had been lost, but they had struck the first blow. See? Turk said proudly. The ghosts bleed too. Then the room turned cold. Because above them, from the black silence of space, 100 human fighters activated, without sound, without warning. They came down like shadows falling from heaven. Sky over Kalthora lit up in fire. Human ships moved faster than anything the Zalari had ever seen. They twisted mid-air, changed direction in a blink, and fired weapons that melted through steel like paper. Turk ran outside the base, shouting orders. Fire everything! Launch the ion cannons! The base lit up with Zalari weapons, but none of them hit. The human fighters dodged them like wind dodges rocks. One by one, the defense towers exploded. Inside one of the human ships, pilot Nadia Pierce flew with calm hands. Target locked, the II whispered. Nadia didn't speak. She fired once. A single energy beam hit the main power core of the Zalari base. A blue shockwave tore through Kalthora, disabling every remaining ship, weapon, and signal. The Zalari were blind, broken, and beaten in less than 10 minutes. Elias Grayson watched. From orbit, they drew first blood, his officer said. Elias replied, "Then we'll show them what real war looks like." He turned to the AI. "Send message to all Zalari military leaders. This is their only chance to surrender." On Zarnak, the people watched the news with horror. The broadcast showed the burning ruins of Kalthora. Fires lit up the night sky. Wounded soldiers cried out. Medics searched the rubble. People whispered in fear. They didn't just destroy the base. They erased it. In the war dome, Vader was called once again. His face was tired. His voice heavy. "They fired first," said Kirax. "Do we have any right to ask for peace now?" Vader answered, "You had one chance to prove you were better than your ancestors, and you used it to shoot." Zirak, the old commander, finally stood up. "I was there the day we betrayed them," he said. "I was just a young officer. I said nothing. I watched the bombs fall. And I've lived with that shame for 5,000 years." He turned to the council. "We have one option left: surrender. Not because we are weak, but because we are guilty." Meanwhile, on the Vigilance, Elias sat alone in his private chamber. He played the last message from his grandmother. "When the time comes, show them what they made us. But never forget who we were before the fire." He looked at the screen showing the city of Narak Tal, the Zalari's largest spaceport. It was untouched. For now, he gave one last order for the day. Mark Norak Tal with an X, a small ship launched. No guns, no missiles. Just one beam from the sky. A quiet streak of light fell onto the desert near Narik-Tal. Another perfect blue. X burned into the ground. People of Zarnak knew what it meant. X number 2. Elias's voice echoed across every screen. 2 strikes. 3 remain. You shot first. We will finish last. The sky over Zarnak was dark, but the fire from the recent strikes still burned in the hearts of its people. The Zalari Empire was shattered, their pride broken. Their weapons outdated. But their worst enemy was still unknown, the truth hidden. Deep in the past, inside the ancient archives beneath the capital city, Vader moved slowly. His steps echoed against stone walls lined with dusty scrolls, broken holoscreens, and forgotten memories. For centuries, these archives had been closed to the public. Forbidden knowledge was locked here. Hidden truths that the Council hoped no one would ever find. Via Tor did not care. He needed answers. And only here could he find them. He pulled out a cracked datapad from his bag. The screen flickered with a map of space, the lost regions where the humans had disappeared. 5,000 years ago, he had spent years searching for this place. A dead zone between stars known only as the Void of Silence. No ship dared enter it. No alien race studied it, but Vader knew the truth. Long ago, after the betrayal, many humans escaped to the Void. It was a dangerous place, cold, empty, and filled with ancient ruins. But they survived. They built secret colonies. They evolved in silence. They grew stronger. And in the heart of the Void lay the greatest secret. Via Tor tapped the screen. The map zoomed in. There was a blinking light. A signal, something alive, something hidden for thousands of years. Suddenly, his datapad beeped urgently. Message from the Council. Vader, you are needed immediately. Urgent meeting. Bring what you have. Vader's heart raced. He grabbed his scrolls and headed to the council chambers. In the war dome, the council waited. Faces were grim. Vator laid the datapad on the table and activated the map. This, he said, is where the humans fled after the betrayal. They didn't disappear. They hid. They survived in the void. Minister Ralvik scoffed. The void is a death trap. No one lives there. Vator shook his head. The humans are not. Like us, they survived harsh worlds. They survived silence. They evolved beyond our knowledge. He showed a new image on the screen, a massive human city hidden inside an asteroid, glowing with blue light. This is their secret base, their home, their heart. High Lord Kirax frowned. How do you know this? Vator played a recorded message. The voice was old, broken, but full of warning. To those who find this message, know this: we were betrayed. We hid in the void, we grew, and one day we will return. Do not forget who we were, or who you made us. The room fell silent. Ralvik finally said, "Then this war, it is not just about power. It is about revenge." Yes, Vator agreed. And if we want to survive, we must face the truth. Meanwhile, on the human flagship Vigilance, Commander Elias Grayson prepared for the next step. Argus reported, "Zalari defenses are weakening. Their fear grows." Elias nodded. "They will come to us soon. We must be ready." He walked to a private room filled with ancient Earth artifacts. One was a small, worn book, his grandmother's journal. He read aloud, "We did not become monsters by choice. We became what they forced us to be. But even in the darkness, we held on to hope." Back on Zarnuk, Vator began to work with a team of scientists and engineers. They studied ancient human tech recovered from destroyed ships. They discovered new weapons, new shields, and new energy sources beyond their understanding. "This is beyond anything we have," said a young engineer. Vator nodded. "It is, and it is why we lost the first battles." At night, Vator looked up at the stars. He whispered to himself, "The humans are not just legends. They are a warning." In the shadows, a mysterious figure watched the war dome through a hidden window. A member of a secret alien group. The Shadow Hand, they whispered to themselves. The truth will break everything. Suddenly, the city's alarms blared. Human drones had entered again, this time targeting communication towers. Zalari forces rushed to defend. The battle was silent but deadly. Tor joined the soldiers on the ground. He saw the drones up close, small, black, almost invisible machines. They moved too fast to shoot. Soldiers tried to use EMP grenades, but the drones adapted instantly. Tor realized the war had changed. It was no longer just about fleets and weapons. It was a war of technology, strategy, and survival. Back in the war dome, the council debated. Ralvik argued for surrender. Kirax refused. Vator stood between them. "We must learn from the past," he said, "or we will repeat it." In orbit, the human fleet waited. Commander Elias spoke to his officers. "Patience is our weapon. The galaxy will remember the humans, not as myths, but as masters of their fate." The people of Zarnuk woke to a strange silence. No alarms, no sirens, just a calm, cold morning. But in the sky above, something terrible was coming. The entire human fleet had arrived. Commander Elias Grayson stood at the center of his warship, Vigilance. Behind him, screen after screen showed the movement of over 2,000 human ships, now in formation above Zarnuk. Fighters, bombers, carriers, drones, even massive dreadnoughts that blotted out the stars. Argus, the ship's AI, spoke softly. "Operation Memory Flame is ready, Commander. Final orders?" Elias looked down at the planet below and gave a short nod. "Begin." From the surface, the Zalari citizens looked up and gasped. The blue sky was now black, covered in metal, covered in human ships. Shadows fell over buildings, over homes, over hearts. It felt like the sun had died. In the war dome, High Lord Kirak stared at the sky through the large glass ceiling. They've brought their full strength, he said in disbelief. Minister Ralvek slammed his fist on the table. Then, it's over. We can't stop this. General Zirak stood slowly. Then let us not die like cowards. All over the planet, the Zilari military scrambled to respond. Old bases opened. Hidden turrets activated. Warships lifted off into the sky. But none of it mattered. Because in less than 4 minutes, the first wave of human fire fell. The first city to be hit was Relvana, Military Command Center. It took only 12 seconds. Human ships didn't carpet bomb. They didn't fire blindly. They hit only the targets that mattered. Power cores, weapon systems, communications towers, precision strikes. And once those were gone, the humans didn't finish the city. They left it standing, broken, silent, but alive. In orbit, Elias Grayson watched the results. Report? He asked. Argus replied, 17 targets destroyed. 0 civilian deaths. Good, Elias said. Let them feel powerless, not punished. But not all human captains agreed. In the Eastern Fleet, Captain Marston Howell requested permission to hit Sereth, a city known for producing Zilari war machines. He didn't wait for permission. He fired. Sereth burned. Human bombers dropped kinetic strikes from orbit, flattening half the city. Even Argus was silent for a moment. Overuse of force. It finally said. Elias looked at the screen. Captain Hale has crossed the line. Shall I override his command? Argus asked. Elias gave a long pause. No, he said. Let the Zilari see what some humans are willing to do. Then they'll know why I must lead. In the War Dome, the council saw the burning images of Serith. The cities weren't just being hit, they were being marked. Everywhere a strike landed, a giant blue X appeared on the ground. 3 X's now covered the planet. Only 2 more, and everyone knew what that meant. Via Tor entered the War Dome. His old scrolls in hand, he spoke without being asked. There is no stopping them now, but there may still be understanding. Ralvek growled. Understanding? We're being destroyed. Vader pointed at the screens. Not destroyed, judged. Look carefully. They're not targeting homes or hospitals. They hit only where the betrayal began. He looked around the room. Can you not see it? They are not killing us. They are teaching us. In orbit, Elias sent another broadcast. It played across every screen on the planet. You lied to your people. You said we were myths. You said we were dead. But we watched. And now we strike not to conquer, but to remind. The screen went black. Below, alien soldiers panicked. Some ran. Some fought. Some threw down their weapons and surrendered. But one unit refused. On the outer city of Yarnes, a proud Zilari general named Velkor had trained warriors all his life. He saw the sky darken. He knew the war was lost. But he didn't care. Gave one final order. Launch all missiles. We die with honor. Elias saw it coming. Yarnes missile silos are activating. Argus warned. Elias gave a calm command. Disable them. Do not kill the soldiers. Show them the future they fear. 10 human drones dove into Yarnes like black comets. They used sonic pulses. Every missile system in Yarnes shut down, without explosion, without fire. And then, from the sky, blue lights shined down on Velkor's command tower. A voice spoke from above. You are brave. But bravery without truth is just pride. Velkor fell to his knees. He had never felt fear before. But this was not just war. This was judgment by the forgotten. Meanwhile, back in the void, a hidden human base called Sanctuary Prime activated a secure line. A voice appeared in Elias's ear. Commander Grayson, this is Mother Ark. The Council is watching. You are within strike limit. Elias replied, We are 3 marks in. The 4th comes at dawn. Have they asked for peace? The voice asked. Elias was quiet. No, he said. But they are beginning to remember. At night on Zarnak, the sky finally cleared. No more bombs. No more drones. Just silence. A frightened, broken silence. Families hid in shelters. Cities lost power. Soldiers sat by dead weapons. Fires glowed across the horizon. And across the land. The 3 glowing blue X's shined like scars. In a dark room beneath the war dome. Vader met privately with Zirak. They are not just punishing us, Vader said. They are shaping something new. Zirak asked, what do you mean? Vader showed him an old human design. A symbol for rebuilding. They are not here to conquer land, he said. They are here to rewrite history. That night, Elias walked alone on the Vigilance Bridge. He looked at an old Earth photo. A city called New York, lost during the betrayal. A place he had never seen. He whispered, we don't want to destroy them. Argus replied, but will they listen before the 5th strike? Elias said nothing. He just stared at the stars. The planet Zarnak was quiet. Too quiet. 3 giant blue X marks now glowed across its surface. Each mark stood where a human strike had fallen, precise, powerful, and terrifying. The people of Zarnak had stopped asking, will they attack again? Now they asked when. In the War Dome, the Zalari Council sat in silence. The mood was dark. Ministers looked pale. Generals had no plans left. High Lord Kirak stood slowly. 3 strikes. 2 more remain. After the 5th, we fall. Minister. Ralvik rubbed his temples. We must talk to them. We must beg. Commander Zirak said nothing. He stared at the giant screen showing the human fleet. So still, so calm. Yet more deadly than any storm. Suddenly, the door opened. Va Tor walked in, carrying a white flag. A message, he said, should be delivered in peace, not fear. The council turned toward him. You plan to surrender? Ralvik asked angrily. No, Vader said. I plan to speak. And I will do it alone. Back in orbit, on the human flagship Vigilance, Commander Elias Grayson watched the latest scan of Zarnak. Argus, the AI, spoke calmly. Civilian movement minimal. Military resistance has ended. No missile activity for 18 hours. Elazin nodded. Then they understand. But Argus added, 1 ship is leaving Zarnak, unarmed, flying straight toward us. Show me. A screen lit up, showing the small shuttle. No weapons, no escort. Who's on board? Elias asked. Only 1 life form, alien male, elder, carrying old data files. Elias stared at the image. Let him in. The shuttle docked with the Vigilance. Human soldiers stood ready, weapons drawn, but they didn't fire. The door opened. Va Tor stepped out slowly. He looked around. Steel walls, bright lights. Machines beyond understanding. He was walking inside a legend. Elias met him in a long, quiet hallway. You're brave to come alone, Elias said. I've waited all my life to meet your kind, Viator replied. And I carry something you should see. He handed Elias a data crystal. Elias inserted it into a nearby console. A hologram appeared. It was a video, ancient, from 5,000 years ago. It showed the peace conference, the one before the betrayal. Human leaders smiling, offering friendship. Then it showed the Zalari attack. Ships firing. Cities burning. Screams. The truth. Elias watched in silence. I already know this, he said. I know, Vader replied. But now my people know too. He looked Elias in the eyes. Commander, I ask for peace, not because we are strong, not because we deserve it, but because we remember now. Elias did not speak right away. After a long pause, he said, your people remembered. But did they change? Vader took a deep breath. Maybe not all of them, but some of us have. Enough to build a future that is different from the past. Elias walked to the window, looking down at Zarnuk. 4 X's, he said. 4 marks burned into your world. 1 more and this planet becomes a story of ruins. Vader stepped beside him. Then let us write a new ending. Back on Zarnuk, unknown to the Council, a secret group of Zalari generals had gathered in an old base. Their leader was General Kale Dravik, once exiled for war crimes. Now he returned with one goal: revenge. They've humiliated us. He shouted. Our cities burn. Our people kneel. And now they talk peace? Other officers around him nodded. Double quotes. We will not be slaves. One growled. We will not live under fear, said another. Kale raised a small device. I hold the key. A weapon. We were told to never use. A relic of the ancient wars. The weapon was called Red Halo. Built long ago in secret, Red Halo was never activated. It could target an entire fleet with an energy wave so violent, it would tear ships apart from the inside. It was unstable, dangerous, possibly suicidal, but Kale didn't care. If we're going to die, he said, then they die with us. In orbit, Argus gave a new warning. Energy spike detected near Sector 4, base deep underground, unknown readings. Elias looked sharply at the screen. Red Halo, he whispered. I've seen this before, in the old Earth files. He turned to his officers. Argus, send a message to all humans on the planet. Pull them out, prepare for blast. But what about the peace talks? A young officer asked. Elias didn't blink. If they use that weapon, there is no peace. Vader saw the change in Elias's face. What happened? He asked. Your people, Elias said darkly, have opened an old wound. Deep beneath the ground, General Kale activated. The Red Halo device. Lights flashed red. The machine hummed with deadly power. One officer hesitated. Are you sure about this? Kale answered. I was never more sure of anything. He pressed the button. Nothing happened at first. Then the earth shook. Storm clouds gathered in the sky, unnatural, dark and swirling. Every human ship in orbit felt it. Panels glitched. Lights flickered. Argus screamed. We must act now. Elias gave the order. Target the base. Fire. From the Vigilance, a massive white beam shot downward, one of humanity's oldest and most powerful weapons. A clean break. Cannon. It was not designed to kill armies. It was designed to remove threats. The beam struck the exact coordinates of the Red Halo base. For 10 seconds, nothing could be seen. Then, a white flash covered the sky, followed by silence. When the light faded, the base was gone. Nothing remained. Not rubble, not metal, not bodies. Just dust. The Council watched the destruction live. What was that? Ralvik asked in horror. Zirak lowered his head. That was mercy. We were lucky they only hit the weapon. Back aboard. The Vigilance. Elias sat quietly. Argus said, Red Halo threat eliminated. Civilian casualties, 0. Elias closed his eyes for a moment. Then he opened the communication line. To the Zalari Council, he said. You had one last chance. Someone tried to steal it. But you still have one more breath. He looked at Vader. Go back. Tell them, one more move like that, and the 5th X falls. Vader nodded. I will make them understand. He returned to Zarnuk that night. The sky was still black. The people still frightened. But now, the chance of survival was real. He entered the war dome with fire in his eyes. You wanted peace, he told the Council. Then prove it. Capture General Kale's men. Show the humans that we are not all traitors. And they did. By dawn, the remaining traitor generals were arrested. The Council announced the Truth Pact, a public broadcast, admitting the betrayal and calling for permanent peace with humanity. In orbit, Elias listened. He gave no smile. No celebration. Just one sentence. Prepare the last X. But do not fire. Argus replied, marking location only. Yes, Elias said. Let them look at it every day. A reminder, not a punishment. That day, a small blue beam fell from the sky that it didn't strike a city, that it hit an empty mountain far from any home. A final X was burned into the earth, but it was not followed by fire, that it was followed by silence. The fifth blue X burned into the lonely mountain of Zarnok. No city was destroyed. No civilians were hurt, but the message was clear. We could have ended you, but we chose not to. From space, the planet looked like it had been carved by giants, 5 glowing X marks, each one cold, each one quiet, each one heavy with meaning. Zarnok would never forget them, and neither would the rest of the galaxy. In the Great War Dome, now silent and mostly empty, Vader stood at the center. Around him were reporters, soldiers, diplomats, and survivors. The entire planet was watching. Behind him stood Commander Zirak, old and proud. Beside him, a new Zalari leader named Sen Ravel, chosen to lead in a time of healing. Tor spoke to the cameras. For 5,000 years, we hid the truth, he said. We turned legends into lies. We taught our children that humans were monsters, while hiding our own crimes. He paused, and now, they have returned, not to kill us, but to show us what we made them become. On board the human flagship Vigilance, Commander Elias Grayson watched the broadcast. No soldiers spoke. No orders were given. Just silence. Even the AI, Argus, did not speak, because the war was over, but the future was still unknown. Tor continued his speech. We saw their strength, their ships, their technology, their power. But what changed us, what truly broke our pride, was their control. He looked up. They could have burned our cities, but they didn't. They marked them, they warned us, and they waited for us to wake up. At that moment, across Zarnok, something unexpected happened. In the ruins of the cities, human aid drones landed. They didn't carry weapons. They carried food, medicine, power cells, water purifiers, medical bots. The people stood in shock. Some wept. The monsters they had feared were healing them. One young girl in the city of Drelvan reached out to a human drone. It paused, then gently scanned her injuries. The crowd around her began to cheer softly, not in victory, but in hope. Elias walked the bridge of the Vigilance, alone. He thought of Earth. He thought of his ancestors. He thought of the burning of New York, the betrayal of old treaties, the destruction of everything humans had built. He whispered to himself, we came for justice. But maybe we also found peace. Later that day, a final message was sent from the human fleet to the entire Zalari race. It was short. It came not from Elias, but from the Earth Council, deep within the void. A single voice spoke. To the people of Zarnok, we do not seek your death. We do not want your land. We want your memory. Remember who we were. Remember who you were, and let history never lie again. That message was translated into every language on Zarnok, carved into monuments, played in schools, whispered by elders. It became known as the last word. Months passed. The human fleet stayed for a while, but only to help. They did not take prisoners. They did not raise flags. They helped rebuild hospitals. They restored power grids. They gave nothing but what was needed, and then they began to leave. One by one, the massive ships lifted silently into the sky, and the stars became clear again. But the galaxy was watching. The Valari Union, the Threx Dominion, the Auric Collectives, all major alien civilizations who once believed the humans were dead, now watched with new fear. And new respect, for they had seen what humanity had become. Not monsters, not saviors, but something far more dangerous. A species with nothing left to lose, but everything still worth protecting. In the deep void, the human capital world called Saul's End received full reports. The Terran High Council reviewed the Final mission logs. A single message was written into Earth's records. Zarnak has remembered. Justice was given. Peace was chosen. Operation Memory Flame complete. On Zarnak, life changed. The Truth Pact became law. Every school taught. The real history now, the betrayal, the hiding, the return of mankind. The meaning of the 5 blue X as a new memorial was built in the capital. At the center stood a black stone carved with 5 glowing X marks. Underneath, words were written in both Zalari and human. Here we learned, strength is not in fire but in the choice not to use it. Vader retired soon after. He lived quietly in the mountains, watching the stars, but he never stopped writing. He finished his final book, What Humanity Became. It was Read Across the Stars, a book not of fear, but of warning and hope. Commander Elias Grayson returned to the void. He stood before the Earth Council. Did they learn? One asked. Yes, Elias answered. Enough to fear the past. Enough to respect the future. A councilwoman asked, and us? What do we become now? Elias smiled faintly. Not gods. Not ghosts, just human, stronger than before, and remembered forever. Back on Zarnak, the people looked to the stars differently now, not with hate, not with fear, but with understanding. They knew one thing for sure. The legends were true. The monsters had come. But they were never monsters at all. They were what betrayal had created, and what mercy had saved.